Welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be going over my suspension setup on the 69 Vet. If you watched the last video, I did the front coilovers on there so you kind of understand why the front is lowered. And I did end up adjusting the rear and getting the rear dialed in. I went over the whole car. Unfortunately, I didn't have my camera when I was doing everything. I just was kind of in the zone and I just was messing with it and getting everything lined up. So I do have it completely dialed in, as you can see behind me. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get it outside, get some better shots of it so you can take a look. And then I'm going to show you what I did for the back. So a lot of it's just kind of common, lowering bolts and stuff like that, but there's a couple little tricks and stuff like that. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of it if you have a C3 Corvette, but I'm going to show you a couple little options and stuff like that I did. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing outside, get some better looks at it, see how everything's sitting in the wheel well. I got everything kind of just like cambered in just another degree or two, so it sits, it doesn't rub, and in my opinion it actually sits pretty nice, and you don't have to worry about any like rubbing or dragging or any inconveniences for being this low. So we'll just go ahead and get started. All right, so you can see the front is sitting pretty good. I'm happy with it. It's kind of right at the wheel well, which I like, but not too low where you're dealing with steering issues or anything like that. And then the back as well, it's sitting there pretty nice. Originally I had it down a little too low and it was rubbing a little bit, but I lifted it back up a little bit. So now it's just perfect. So we'll just go ahead and take a look at the other side real quick. And you can see, same thing, just right at the wheel well there. Same thing with the rear. All in all, I'm happy with the way it turned out. So I'm just gonna get it back in the shop now and just gotta go over that rear setup. Okay, so C3, C4 Corvette, they have a rear transverse spring. And on either side of that spring are these bolts. Now, these will determine your ride height. The longer the bolt is, the lower the car will get, the shorter it is, the higher it'll get. So these are the option number one, which would be the C3 Corvette lowering bolt. Now, if you're running like a 15-inch wheel, a factory wheel or something like that, this will probably do the job. It'll lower the car a little bit and you really won't have any other issues. Now, if you're running like a bigger wheel, which I'll get to, these are the other options. C4 Corvette factory bolt is longer than the C3 lowering bolt, roughly by ½ an inch. And the other extreme case, which I have on my car because the wheels are so big, they're 20s, are C4 lowering bolts, which are way longer than the factory C4 bolt and like a good 1.5 inches longer than the C3 lowering bolt. Now, going back to what I said about the tire diameter, if you're running something big, you are from the center line to the wheel well, that gap right there is what's going to determine which one of these bolts to use. Now, if you're running a bigger wheel, this would be probably an option, or the regular C4 one. What you really have to look out for is the angle of the half shafts. So they need to be parallel so you won't have any driveline vibrations. The minute you go too low, you're going to start having vibrations back there. My 73 Corvette, I have just the regular lowering bolts on there for C3, and it sits fine, and the half shafts are pretty much parallel, which I'll show you here in a minute. But I did have these C4 ones on here at once, and it did vibrate pretty bad. So, but that also determines on the wheels and tires that you're running. I have just 17s on there, but with these 20s, that allowed me to go a lot lower and keep the half shafts parallel, eliminating that wheel gap and still keeping everything in sync. So these are the options that you can kind of pick from, but it all depends on your wheel and tire package and what size. But besides the ordering a lowering spring, ordering these two could also be pretty good options. Okay, so that's the long lowered C4 bolt in there. And then we'll walk around here. And this is just the lowering bolt for C3 Corvette. And now you can see that wheel well gap in there. And that's as low as I can go with these wheels, because the diameter obviously is a lot smaller than that. And I'll try to get a shot underneath here if you can really see it. But right there, you can see the half shaft is almost parallel. It's a little bit lower, but this car doesn't vibrate at all. And you can see there's that bolt in there. But that's probably about as low as you want to go, or you know, as unparalleled with that half shaft. Anything more than that, you're gonna have vibrations. All right, so that'll do it for today's video. So if your C3 is starting to look like a monster truck, it might be time to just bring it down a little bit. I don't want to say that they look better lowered, but they kind of do. So if you enjoyed the video, press like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.